Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast on where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., creator and host of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Now, before I bring up my special guest, I have good news to share with you. I have a new website, and you can look for it at the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's right, folks. I have a new website called the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. If you have a computer, laptop, notebook, or if you have a desktop computer and it has either MSN or AOL, make sure you type in the name of my podcast website, the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. And if you have Google on your smartphone, make sure you type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's where you find all of my news blogs, or whatever you want to call it. That's where I tell you what's going to be on the next episode for the entire month. So please check out my website and please pass it on. Make sure you check out my website, the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. In the meantime, enjoy today's episode and thank you for your support. Welcome to the season finale of the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and we are continuing with part 2 of our 3-part season finale of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast, bringing you tributes, honoring our favorite singers and musicians that have passed away during the 2025-2026 season. Now, let's pick up where we left off at as we go in with part 2 and the next artists that have passed away during the 2025-26 season is a reggae artist from Jamaica, and his name is Ernie Smith, and he passed away on April 16th, 2026. So let's begin with the late Ernie Smith. Ernie Smith was born as Gleroy Anthony Michael Archangelo Smith, and he was born on May 1st, 1945 in Kingston, Jamaica, West Indies. He was raised in St. Anne and Maypen. He played guitar in the band called The Vandals in Claremont, St. Anne after leaving school, and was named Ernie. He sought a career as a radio announcer, but then approached Federal Studios looking for work as a songwriter, ended up recording his songs himself. He had some hits back in the 1970s, including cover songs of Help Me Make It Through the Night and Everything I Own. In 1975, he wrote the song Tears on My Pillow, not affiliated with the song from Little Anthony and the Imperials. He wrote the song, which became a hit for Johnny Nash. Ernie's albums includes Ernie Smith, that is, For the Good Times, To Behold Jah, Life is Just for the Living, Pure Gold, Rock and Roll, and Rock Steady, I'll Sing for Jesus, Ska Reggae, Mr. Smith's Classics, Folk Songs of Jamaica, Dancehall, Ernie Cleans It Up, Country Mile, and the best of Ernie Smith. Ernie Smith died on April 16th, 2026. He was 80 years old. The next artist that I'm about to present is the late Nedra Talley. And yes, she was a member and founder of the girl group The Ronettes, in which she performed with her cousins Ronnie, which later Ronnie Spector, and Estelle Bennett. She was born on January 27th, 1946, in New York City. She's Black, Native American, Irish, and Puerto Rican descent. She formed the Ronettes with her cousins Ronnie and Estelle in 1957. In 1967, Nedra and Estelle left the Ronettes a decade after the group's formation. The split was reported in due to part of interference from the group's producer, Phil Spector, who later married Ronnie Bennett, which is now Ronnie Spector. Nedra Talley met her future husband, Scott Ross, and she became a born again Christian. She also decided to leave the Ronettes because she felt there was little place for Christian music. In 1977, Nedra Talley has recorded a few Christian songs written by Church's music director, Ted Sandquist. One of the tracks, including a medley called Love of My Lord, Redwood Tree, was released as a 45 promo single. Guitarist Phil Keaggy played on at least two of the album's cuts for her. For its 30th anniversary, the album was finally released on CD. In 1978, Nedra recorded Full Circle, a solo contemporary Christian music LP on which Phil Keaggy once again backed her. Phil wrote the title track and released his own version of it on his 1981 LP entitled Town to Town. The album was produced by Nedra's husband, Scott Ross. Sadly, the album was never released. In 2007, the Ronettes were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2023, Nedra's husband, Scott Ross, who was also a radio DJ personality, died. And 3 years later, Nedra Talley died at her home in Chesapeake, Virginia on April 26, 2026, at the age of 80, and she was the last surviving member of the Ronettes. The next artist I'm about to bring you is the one and only Mr. Phil Upchurch. He was born on July 19th, 1941, in Chicago, Illinois. He was a guitarist and bass guitarist who has performed genres of music: soul, R&B, jazz, and blues. He started his career working with the Cool Gents, the Dells, the Spaniels, Curtis Mayfield, Otis Rush, Dee Clark, Woody Herman, Stan Getz, B.B. King, Donny Hathaway, Harvey Mason, Ramsey Lewis, Shaka Khan, Jimmy Smith, Anita Baker, Jack McDuff, Cat Stevens, Joe Williams, and Michael Jackson. Phil has released some of his solo albums, including You Can't Sit Down, Feeling Blue, The Way I Feel, Free and Easy, Revelation, Companions, Midnight Blue, All I Want, Love is Strange, Tell the Truth, and Impressions of Curtis Mayfield. Phil Upchurch died in Los Angeles, California on November 23rd, 2025. He was 84 years old. The next performer that I'm about to bring you is Mr. Anthony Nathaniel Wilson, or Tony Wilson. He was born in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. His parents were Winifred Wilson and Gladys Hernandez Wilson. He was educated at Tranquility Boys School and Belmont Secondary School and was involved with music from the age of 16. In 1961, Tony had migrated to the UK, where he played with the groups including The Flames, The Souvenirs, and The Corduroys. Tony was a member of the group called the Soul Brothers, which had released 3 singles. He was also a songwriter in the 1960s and wrote songs including Bet Your Life I Do for Herman's Hermits, Heaven is Here for Julie Felix, and Think About Your Children for Mary Hopkin. In 1968, Tony met Errol Brown and they soon formed Hot Chocolate. Wilson was a founding member of the group. Tony Wilson is credited for persuading the lead singer, Errol Brown, to commit his songwriting ideas to paper. He shared lead vocals and duties with Errol Brown on Hot Chocolate's early hits, including Love is Life, You Could Been Had a Lady, Emma, Brother Louie, and the group's top 10 hit, You Sexy Thing, which was released back in December 1975, and it became a top 10 hit, and it stayed there until March 1976. Tony Wilson left Hot Chocolate in December 1975 to begin a solo career after an argument with producer Mickey Most, who wanted Errol to be the frontman instead. Tony Wilson had signed to Bearsville Records, his first solo album entitled I Like Your Style, and was released in 1976. After the album was released, he and his family moved to Bearsville, New York. In 1979, Tony wrote a song for Bill Haley for his album called Everyone Can Rock and Roll. In the 1980s, Tony was in a band called Real Magic. Tony Wilson died on April 24th, 2026, in his home in Trinidad. He was 89 years old. The next artist I'm about to bring you is Miss Brenda Reed. Now, there's no information on where Brenda Reed was born anywhere in the United States, but they had some information on Brenda Reed, who was the lead singer for the group The Exciters. In 1961, Brenda joined the Masterettes, which had Brenda Reed on lead, Sylvia Wilbur, Lillian Walker, and Carol Johnson. That group changed its name to The Exciters. The group's first hit recording was called Tell 'Em, which went to number 4 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts. The song was written by Bert Burns and produced by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. Tell Him was recorded in late 1962, and a Scopatone music video was produced the following year. Other hits with Brenda's Reed vocals included He's Got the Power, Get Him, and Blowing Up My Mind. The Exciters also recorded the original version of Do I Diddy Dum in 1963. It was covered shortly after by Manfred Mann, for whom it was an international hit for the group. In 1975, Brenda Reed and the Exciters enjoyed a hit single called Reaching for the Best. It was produced by Herb Rooney and a young newcomer producer named Ian Levine. The song went to number 31 on the UK's singles charts. In 1978, Brenda Reed and Herb Rooney began recording as a duo. Brenda and Herb had a final soul chart hit called Tonight I'm Gonna Make You a Star. And it was released one album in 1979 called In Heat Again. Brenda's son, Mark Corey Rooney, is a songwriter and producer known for creating hits for other artists. Brenda Reed died on April 29th, 2026, at the age of 80. The next artist that we all know and love is Foster Silvers. Foster Silvers was born in Memphis, Tennessee on February 25th, 1962, and he was one of the youngest siblings member of the Silvers. He released his first self titled debut LP, Foster Silvers, released on the Pride MGM label in June of 1973. His debut hit single, Misdemeanor, released in the summer of 1973, and it was a smash. The song went to number 22 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and number 7 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. And this was his only hit that cracked the top 10. His follow up was the remake of Dee Clark's Hey Little Girl. That song went to number 92 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and number 63 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. The popularity of these songs led Foster to appear on American Bandstand and Soul Train. The album Foster Silvers went to 159 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts and number 31 on Billboard's Soul Albums charts. In 1974, he released his second album called Foster Silvers, featuring Pat and Angie Silvers, followed by his third album, Foster Silvers, released on the Capitol label. Then, Plain and Simple and Primetime. Both of those albums had failed the top 10. In 1975, he joined his brothers and sisters in the Silvers just in time for their LP entitled Showcase, and it was released on the Capitol label. He sang co-lead with his older brother Edmund Silvers on their hit song Boogie Fever from the LP entitled Showcase, which was released on the Capitol label. It went to number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts on May 15th, 1976 for 1 week, and number 1 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts on March 6, 1976 for 1 week. In 1994, he was convicted of a sex offense and was incarcerated. He remained on the list of sex offenders in the state of California's Department of Justice sex offenders profile. Sadly, Foster Silvers died from prostate cancer on May 31st, 2026. He was 64 years old. The next artist I'm about to bring you, and yes, he had a long run, and his name is Peabo Bryson. Peabo Bryson was born on April 13th, 1951, in Greenville, South Carolina. His love for music stemmed from his mother, who often took the family to concerts of well known Black artists at the time. Peabo Bryson marked his debut at the age of 14, singing backup for Al Freeman and the Upsetters, a local Greenville music group. Peebo's first break at a recording session at Atlanta's Bang Records. The singer caught the ear of the label's general manager, Ernie Bisco. He signed Peeble to a contract as a writer, producer, and arranger, and encouraged Peeble to perform his own songs. In 1976, his first album, Peebo, which didn't do too well, followed shortly thereafter. Peeble Bryson signed to Capitol Records in 1977. His major debut LP, entitled Reaching for the Sky, which was released on the Capitol label on January 16, 1978. His song Reaching for the Sky went to number 6 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. And then his follow up song, Feel the Fire, which later became a hit remake for Miss Stephanie Mills in 1979, and then again in 1980 with a duet featuring Teddy Pendergrass from his LP, TP. And that went to number 13 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. The album went to number 49 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts and number 11 on Billboard's Soul Albums charts. The album went gold and it sold over 500,000 copies in print. His next LP was called Crosswinds, and it was released back in November of 1978. His song Crosswinds went to number 28 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts, and his follow up, She's a Woman, went to number 44 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. And his top 10 hit, I'm So Into You, went to number 2 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts and stayed on the charts for several months. On November 2nd, 1979, Peeble teamed up with Natalie Cole with a duet LP entitled We're the Best of Friends. They did a remake of Bobby Caldwell's What You Won't Do for Love. It went to number 16 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. Their follow up song, Gimme Some Time, went to number 8 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. The LP went to number 44 on Billboard's Pop Albums charts and number 7 on Billboard's Soul Albums charts. His next LP was called Paradise, and it was released on March 13th, 1980. He did the remake of the Doobie Brothers' Minute by Minute, which went to number 12 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts, and his follow up, I Love the Way You Love. It went to number 39 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. The album went to number 79 on Billboard's Pop Albums charts and number 13 on Billboard's Soul Albums charts. His next LP was called I'm Love, and it was released on November of 1981. His first song, Let the Feeling Flow, became a top 10 hit, and it was released on October of 1981. It went to number 42 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and number 6 on Billboard's Soul Singles charts. The LP went to number 40 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts and number 6 on Billboard's Soul Albums charts. In 1983, another duet LP with Roberta Flack, and the name of the album was entitled Born to Love, and it was released on July 22nd, 1983. The song Tonight I Celebrate My Love was released on June 24th, 1983. The song was written by Jerry Goffin and Michael Mazer, and it became an international smash. The song went to number 16 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts, number 4 on Billboard's Adult Contemporary Singles charts, and number 5 on Billboard's R&B Black Singles charts. Now, here's an FYI for you all, ladies and gentlemen. The song, during the 80s, it was used for a love-themed episode for Days of Our Lives Super Couple Bo Brady, and Hope Williams, which was played by actor Peter Raquel and Christian Alfonso. And Days of Our Lives was aired on NBC Daytime. In 2005, the song was used in a commercial for the Amazing Candy Bar. As for the LP, it went to number 25 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts and number 8 on Billboard's R&B Black Albums charts. The LP went gold and it sold over 500,000 copies in print. In 1984, Peabo Bryson had switched to Elektra Asylum Records, and his new LP called Straight from the Heart was released on May 15th, 1984. The song If Ever You're in My Arms Again was released in April of 1984, and it went to number 10 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts, number 6 on Billboard's R&B Black Singles charts, and number 1 on Billboard's Adult Contemporary Singles charts on July 7th, 1984 for 4 weeks. The song was written by Michael Mazer, Cynthia Well, and Tom Snow. The LP went to number 44 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts, number 12 on Billboard's R&B Black Albums charts. In January 1985, he made his acting debut, and he appeared on a TV episode of Fame, which was aired in syndication. And on the same year, he appeared on an episode of One Life to Live, aired on ABC Daytime, and he also wrote the theme song for the daytime soap opera Serial, which was used from December 1984 to 1989. Other albums from Peabo, including Take No Prisoners, Quiet Storm, Positive, and All My Love, which was released on the Capitol label back in 1989. In 1991, Peabo Bryson switched to Columbia Records with a new album called Can You Stop the Rain? The LP was released on June 4th, 1991. His song Can You Stop the Rain released on May 4th, 1991, and it went to number 52 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts, number 11 on Billboard's Adult Contemporary Singles charts, and number 1 on Billboard's R&B Black Singles charts on August 17th, 1991 for 2 weeks. The album went to number 88 on Billboard's Top 200 Albums charts and number 1 on Billboard's R&B Black Albums charts. The album went gold and it sold over 500,000 copies in print. In 1991 and 1992, it was a good year for Peabo Bryson. He had 2 number 1 duets, which was coming from 2 Disney movies. First, Beauty and the Beast with Celine Dion, and A Whole New World from the movie Aladdin with Regina Bell. First, Beauty and the Beast, which was performed by Peabo Bryson and Celine Dion, won a Grammy Award for Best Pop Performance by Duo or Group at the 1993 35th Annual Grammy Awards. And the song, A Whole New World, which was with Peabo Bryson and Regina Bell, that song went to number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts on March 6, 1993 for 1 week. Other albums from Peabo Bryson, which includes Through the Fire, Peace on Earth, Unconditional Love, Missing You, Stand for Love, and his last LP, Grace, which was released on an independent record label. Peabo Bryson had kept on performing while at the same time he was once married to singer Tanya Boniface from the British R&B group, the 411. And they had a son. He had a daughter from a previous relationship and has 3 grandchildren. Prior to his marriage, Peeble was engaged several times. First to Juanita Leonard, who was once married to former boxing champion Sugar Ray Leonard, and then Angela Thigpen, a former Miss Virginia Teen USA, who later became model and actress. On April 29th, 2019, Peeble suffered a heart attack and was rushed to an Atlanta hospital where he was in stable condition and made a full recovery. 7 years later, on May 31st, he suffered a stroke and was rushed to a hospital in Marietta, Georgia. Peeble Bryson died 2 days later on June 2nd. He was 75 years old. Well, there we have part 2 of our 3-part season finale on tributes, honoring our favorite singers and musicians that have passed away during the 2025-2026 season. Now, as we go for part 3, we're going to have the next artist, and it will be Dexter Wansel. And that will be for part 3. And hopefully, just praying that we won't have any more musicians passing away for the month of June. So there you have it, folks. We just did part 2 of our 3-part season finale of tributes, honoring those that have passed away during the 2025-26 season. I want to say thank you all for tuning into the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And thank you for tuning into all of our episodes streaming on YouTube, which we now are past over 200 plus subscribers. And special thank you for those who have been tuning in to all other platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio and Pocket Cast. The numbers have been growing. And for those who've been subscribing to Patreon, we just picked up 1 free member. So I'm praying that we will pick up some more subscribers and continue to support my podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, please check out all of the artists that I have talked about for part 2 of tributes on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about my podcast, please visit my website at the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. And please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. If you love this episode, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for me on these 5 platforms. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And the link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget to add the S at the end, -studio. And I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you had a hard time getting on to riverside.fm, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast 6. If you have a computer, please use your email address and please use your password, and please get on to the Patreon homepage, where you see all of the Patreon shows done by different creators. And make sure you go to the search box and type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast 6, where you find all of my audio and video podcast episodes and video podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on the Patreon, then I will be posting this episode on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience. If you have a hard time getting on there, all you need to do is just go to the YouTube homepage where you see all different shows and other news events. And make sure you go to the search box and type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And be sure to look for a picture of me wearing a tux. And make sure you click the subscribe button and check out all the episodes that I've done for season 5 and for the previous season of season 4. If you like the episodes, if you love my podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience. Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience Podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Look for my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And don't forget the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. And follow me on Instagram at SAMM.Y2980. As always, partying, remember this. Reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.